Hey there, this is Alex with the Gray Area. Welcome to our series Spotlight, where our mission is to build a bigger and more united house music community by sharing new and exciting artists, festivals, and event brands with you. In this interview, you'll hear from Ferreck Dawn, a Dutch DJ and producer whose hit In Arms on Defected catapulted him to the top of his game. We'll talk about his journey from raver to hardcore DJ to house music heavyweight and how he manages to stay authentic and true to himself. Be sure to like this video and subscribe for more interviews like this. So I always like to start off by asking artists to explain their sound to me like I've never heard dance music before.
Wow. It's house music. It always has a vocal. I like vocals, so I like people to sing along. It doesn't need it's never really a full song. It's not like a verse, pre-chorus, bridge. It's not like a pop song. Usually it's a few strong hooks that keep coming back.
Yeah.
That are really repetitive, but in a good way. I like the bass, the low end to be a bit heavy. So that's for the guys, and then for the girls, there's the vocal. So that's kind of how I see my music. If you listen to house music, and I think that's the best description of it.
I like that. Let's talk a little bit about you growing up. What kind of music was around in the home when you were growing up? What did your parents listen to, and how did that influence you?
That's a bit surprising actually, because my dad's really into the 80s rock music, and so that was played a lot in my house, and I hate rock music, so that's surprising. He did play a lot of Joe Cocker, which is kind of soulful for I did like that, but I can't really say that the music my parents played really influenced me in that way, except because they play music that I'm not really a fan of.
Right.
Till today, if I visit my parents, that music is still playing, and it's not my thing. So that is surprising. But so I can't really put my finger on why house music triggered me back in the day, or I do have a few moments in my life that I know what happened and why house music, kindled, why the flame got kindled, but it's definitely not my parents' music taste.
Right. That makes sense. Well, what about when you started to develop your own taste? Before you wandered into dance music, what were you listening to when you decided it's time for me to figure out what I like?
I was listening to pop music, just the top 40 stuff, because I was pretty young at the time. And I remember buying singles back in the day when I was 13 or 14. And those were dance tracks from the top 40, because, that's all I was exposed to at the time.
Right.
And then when I was 16, I went to a festival called Sensation White. I don't know if you know it.
I know Sensation.
Yeah. So I was completely blown away by that event. Everybody in white and the music and the DJs. And that's definitely the moment in my head that I know that I realized, oh, mate, this is something. I want to get into this. So
right.
I was 16. I'm 36 now. So 20 years ago.
How were you aware of DJ culture before going to that party, or was this just what did a light bulb just go off when you went there and you decided that this was the thing for you?
A little bit, I saw a lot of stuff on the television, and there were dance programs on Friday night on music channels, and I did notice, hey, this is pretty cool, but never really looked into it enough because I was just young, I wasn't of age of actually being allowed. The thing is with Sensation, you have to be 18 years old, but luckily I got in, so. 16-year-old shouldn't be at an event like that usually, so I got a bit lucky, and that opened my eyes, and that's when I started DJing when I was I think half a year later or something.
And how long did it take for you to imagine yourself with a career in dance music?
Well, that took quite a while, because I said I started DJing when I was 17, and I played a lot in local clubs and local festivals and everything. But
right.
I always had I was either going to school or having a full-time job next to it, because you still need to make the money.
Right.
And it wasn't until 2014 when I did the track called Love Too Deep that it went on to BBC Radio 1 daytime radio in the UK. So that was definitely the reason. That was definitely the moment that I told my girlfriend as well, hey, listen, if I'm ever going to do it, this is the time.
Yeah. And do you feel like growing up in a country with such a deep history in dance music helped push you along in your journey?
Oh, 100%. 100%. If you compare it to other countries where they don't have a lot of, can you give me 1 second, because my kids are screaming and I'm going to tell them.
You take care of it.
Give me 1 second. Mail. Sorry about that.
No worries. I have an 8-year-old, so I'm fully aware of how it goes.
Mine are 3 and 2, and it's
that is a tough time. Yeah, it sounds like it's chaos there all the time.
Mayhem. So, to come back to your question, 100%. It is great to grow up in a country where we're such a rich electronic culture. Because if you compare it to Denmark or Sweden, you can definitely tell there's a big difference in the amount of clubs and the amount of festivals and everything. So, being able to go to a big variety of festivals and clubs and everything, that definitely helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you started DJing, you were playing like gabber and hardcore at the time, which is huge. Which is huge there. At what point did you start to transition into like groovier sounds, and what was that transition like for you?
After a few years of playing that music, I felt like I kept doing the same. I didn't find this genre to be very fresh and innovative. We keep hearing the same kind of stuff, and I got fed up with it at a certain point. So after I think about 4 years in, 3 years in, I figured, I'm going to do a 180 because I start to notice that I have a lot more, I feel a lot better listening to house music than to gabber or hardstyle or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And back then, my DJ name used to be Dusk. I don't know why I came up with that, but so in my head, figuring I'm going to do a 180, so I'm going to go for Dawn, and Ferreck is just a different way of my real name, which is fake. But people in the US and in the UK and everybody who speaks English can't pronounce my name. So I figured I'm going to change it a little bit.
So you gave yourself a little bit of more of an international name with hopes that you would become an international DJ, yeah?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you have to aim high, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't shoot for the stars, you're never going to hit the moon.
There you go.
So there was a point. So when you switched monikers and you started producing, and you started to get noticed, and you signed to Spinnin', and that was kind of a weird time in your life, yeah, because you were making you were kind of making EDM, and I know that wasn't like totally your cup of tea. No. Can you talk a little bit about how it felt to be doing that, and then how it felt to like start to move towards a sound that was more authentic to yourself?
Yeah. Well, that is actually what happens. We, especially at the time when spinning at the time was doing so well and they were so crazy popular and successful that the people surrounding you produce that music. In a way, it influences you a little bit,
right?
And you feel like, oh, maybe I should, look into this a bit more. But that's like short-term vision, and then long-term vision. You'll learn that you won't be happy doing that. So that's what I noticed. Don't get me wrong; the guys from Spinning are were really cool and supportive about all the decisions I made, and no bad words about them at all. They were really helpful and trying to help me go into a direction that's successful. But they're great at doing the music they do. But at a certain point, I definitely felt like, hey, this is just not for me. Yeah, but I did have a contract with them, which was 4 years in total. But slowly but surely, during those 4 years, you can also hear in the music that it goes to transitions to house music more and more and more.
Right.
And then when the 4 years were over, we shook hands in a very friendly way, and I went on to different labels that I felt are better suited for the music I do.
Yeah, and then you cited Defected, which is the pinnacle of traditional house music.
Yeah.
How did it feel to be able to be validated by such a huge organization that's played such a huge role in the history of dance music?
It's amazing. That's all, of course, from growing up and slowly and surely going from gabber to like house and techno. Defected has always been there. It's been there for 21 years or so now. So there's always been a label that I thought, wow, that's something if you can release Undefected. And it actually happening, that was such a cool moment. The funny thing about it, though, is that the track that got signed, the first track was In Arms.
Right.
And we signed it, I think, let's say May or June in 2017, but it actually got released in April 2018. So it's been there, for a while,
right?
Because they asked us to do a second track because initially it was supposed to be on DFTD as a 2-track EP,
right?
So we finished the second one, I think, in December. That's actually a track called Lovers and Haters that's going to come out in this summer. So
oh wow.
Been out for we finished it 3 years ago, but it's going to come this summer, which finally, that's good.
This is the way of the record label.
Yeah, well, I get why happened, and makes total sense, because what they did is they gave music right before the Australia tour in February of 2018. They sent a folder of music to the resident DJs of Defected to play it on the tour and see which one resonates with the crowd.
Right.
So Sam Devine, she told me last time we spoke, she said I just put everything on the USB and went through it in the airplane, and she noticed that in arms. So she figured I'm going to try and see what happens, and then apparently she got a great response to it. Throughout the tour, started playing it everywhere, and told the guys from Defected, say, listen, this track really does something. So they made the decision, which I'm really happy about, to wait with Lovers and Haters and focus on In Arms and put it on the main label, because there's a lot of traction going on around it. So right. I'm really happy they made that decision, because the marketing power they put behind it and the cool videos, and they did a great job. And that track is so far it's my most successful track I ever did. So definitely because of the effort they put into it.
Absolutely. I think you kind of struck on something there. I think what you did with In Arms was create something that, even if you played it 10 years from now, could still resonate with the crowd.
Yeah, well, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something that may be lacking in house music right now or in dance music, because we have a lot of people that are just releasing music to get gigs, or just releasing music to get a look, and not necessarily thinking about, how do I create something that's going to have staying power? What do you think about, this current trend and like creating music that's going to last a lifetime?
Well, it's, the thing is, you never know if you're going to do a track that's actually going to stand the test of time. Right. I didn't know that was going to happen with In Arms. I don't think it's per se a mentality of just releasing music for the sake of it in hope to get gigs. Let's say In Arms might be like a lucky shot. I didn't expect it to happen. I didn't produce it. Of course, I always aim for a timeless record, but it's not something that you sit down and you go, okay, now I'm going to do one of those. It kind of happens, but I do agree with you that in certain genres, there's a lot of interchangeable music that, every beat sounds the same. It's the same samples. It's the same bootleg vibe, which is tedious and boring. I understand what you're saying, and but I also understand that people just release music and do their best, and sometimes a track, does well and stand the test of time, and a lot of tracks don't. But that's also for my productions. One track does well and the other one doesn't. You never know. Yeah,
that's just the way it goes, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. So I know that you have severe tinnitus.
Yeah.
How did you discover that you had it, and what advice would you give to DJs, producers, and even clubbers about protecting their ears?
Well, it gradually happened with me, but this is back in the day when you used to play, everybody played on vinyl, and I used to do like 6-hour resident nights in clubs, and I had like a big monitor speaker next to me.
Right.
And, you want to do well, especially when you're younger. So you put the volume really loud, everything loud as it can be, no earplugs or whatsoever, and then do that every week for 6 hours. Then, something's bound to happen, and it did. And it definitely got worse in the past. Let's say I think I have it for about 15 years now, 14 years, something like that. Well, that's not true. I think 12 years, but definitely got worse gradually. So at a certain point, I decided, I'm not going to do monitor speakers anymore. So I changed to in-ear speakers, in-ear monitors.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good decision, because the volume of your headphone on the mixer is less. You're able to put it on like half of what you put it when you use a normal headphone.
Really?
Yeah. So and also there's no membrane in it, so there's no vibrations hitting your ear, which is was healthier apparently.
Yeah.
Less pressure on the hairs in your ear. So that definitely helped, and that definitely is a piece of advice to to other people, but I can imagine you find it boring because, you know, you're kind of in your own little cocoon because it's very different from headphones and monitor speakers. In addition, it's a bit boring for the people in the DJ booth when I come on because I kill the monitors for a big part. You know, I don't need them loud. So I'm not going to stand there blasting speakers in my ears that I don't need, you know.
Right.
So bit of a buzzkill now and again, but, you know, that happens. But for the rest, what I definitely would advise to everybody is just to, you know, get more molded earplugs and wear them, and you get used to it. It takes you like a month or something, but if you're used to it, you wish you'd done it before. And if you're used to it and you go to an event without them, 100% you will leave because it's so heavy and so intense with those earplugs in. It's perfect. It's balanced. It's relaxed. It's good for your ears. You're healthy, and instead of like this wall of sound on your ears that you know something's bound to happen at a certain point. And I can tell you mentally, it can be difficult sometimes. You know. Ups and downs. Everybody, you know, has its ups and downs, and with tinnitus, the same thing. If you feel down, if you're tired, if you had a lot of alcohol, then it's going to get worse. And then it's up to you to handle your thoughts and don't get lost in this fear of, oh no, it's worse. What do I do?
Right.
Because that's a very tough period of time that you have to go through, and you have to find your own little balance in the whole thing. But it's not easy. So better prevent it than actually have to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best gifts I ever got was a set of molded earplugs. I used to work for Insomniac, and they do backstage at all of their shows. They give them away for free, and I took advantage of it. And I couldn't believe how loud things were until I put them on.
Yeah.
At a party, and then I took them off. Like I was like, I just want to say I had one in and one out, and I was just like, oh my god, you're right. It's just too much. It's it sounds great when you're not used to it, but once you mute out a little bit of those harsh frequencies, you're like in a whole new world. You can really enjoy music a lot better, and you can hear people talk.
I totally agree. Which is, it's funny because I think people don't really, they think, oh no, I won't be able to hear anything or blah blah. That's definitely not true. I'm a big fan of using molded earplugs. If I don't have them with me, I wouldn't go to a club or even a bar or even a birthday party at a friend where there's a lot of people.
Yeah,
let's say 20 people. I'll get annoyed by the different sounds and everything, and I'll put them in, and I'm okay again. You know, it's more relaxed. You know.
That's so interesting that you even take them out to like birthday parties and stuff. I never even thought of that, but
that's also because I fear that my tinnitus will get worse. So I want to do everything I can to prevent me getting into a situation again that I can kind of blame myself. You're such an idiot. Why didn't you bring them? Now you go again, blah, blah. I don't want to do that. So I just wear them all the time, wherever I go. And if it's needed, I put them in. And I'll be a happy guy.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. You've been around for 20 years. You've probably had, you know, thousands of nights out as a clubber and as a DJ. Can you point to like a favorite night out just on the dance floor where you didn't have to DJ?
You mean like an event that I really enjoyed, or just in general who's playing, or what do you mean?
Yeah, just like your favorite night out as a clubber.
Well, I've been to when I went to Ibiza for the first time in 2008. We had a week of like two group of friends kind of blending together. Mm-hmm. The magical island, blah blah. You get all the stories from Ibiza, but I actually had an amazing week there, and we saw. I spent a night at we had a night at DC10 at Circo Loco with like Luciano, Villa Lobos, Loco Dice, all those guys, because I used to be. When I go out, I really enjoy listening to techno music. Yeah. Or like tech house, techno. That's those guys, Richie Horton, Sven Vedel. Those kind of guys. I really enjoy that. I like to play house music, and I love house music. But when going out, I like it to be a bit heavier. Yeah. So, the nights I had with those, Cocoon and Amnesia, Richie Horton especially. Yeah, man. That 2008 Ibiza. That's definitely that week. I will never forget. Never ever forget that one.
That's so great. It's always nice for me to hear that, even despite the fact that you may be like DJing on the regular, like once every week or twice every week, that you can still remember times when you enjoyed just being out and enjoying music from the dance floor.
Oh yeah, well, when everything was normal, so let's hope it will return. The last year, for instance, 2 years ago, I blocked one weekend because I wanted to go to a festival with friends and listen to a certain kind of DJs that were playing. But just I love DJing; it's 100% my passion and everything. But it's also important, to spend time with your friends and enjoy everybody together because I don't see them a lot, especially during summer. So no, it's 100% worth it to do that. Yeah.
Are you still connected with the people that you met when you first started going to parties? Like, are they still part of your community?
Some are, and I said that 2008 week I made new friends, which are actually still my group of friends today. Definitely music connects. You have shared interests, and we used to go to festivals all the time. But everybody's getting older now and get kids, so things change.
Yeah, I totally know that feeling. Me and my wife pick one a year. Maybe two that I'm not playing at to go to just to enjoy hanging out and being around the music. And speaking of family, you have 2 kids, and how do you balance like your work and family life?
Well, the past 14 months were completely out of balance because I'm only here with the kids.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, I love them to death, but as you know how it is with a young kid, and 2. Oh man, it's been testing now and again. But, it's just intense, and don't forget what I felt was something that my girlfriend. It's hard to explain to my girlfriend is I've been touring for like 6-7 years every week. I'm by myself, and in a way it's kind of great to just go out. Only you're just by yourself. You spend time with you. Actually, you don't do anything without someone else, and that's pretty great actually. But and that's a nice balance from the hectic situation you have going on at home.
Right.
So during the week it's kids and wife and everything, and then in the weekends it's just me by myself traveling and airports, hotels, and all that, which is a balance I really enjoyed. And the past 14 months, that balance kind of gone because there's nowhere to go.
Right.
So even though I love how it usually is. So during the week with my kids and my wife, and my studio is in my house, so I see them all the time.
Yeah.
And then in the weekends away, and I love that little balance. But so I'm kind of hoping that will come back soon again. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy spending time with them in the weekends. Don't get me wrong, but
everybody needs some alone time. Everybody needs like some time to themselves. And I mean, I'm sure even your wife appreciates the time. Like I'm sure during the week she gets some time to herself too, to be by herself. Everybody needs that in their life. I think that's important.
Yeah. And I was always bitching about, waiting on the airport again, the plane's delayed, blah, blah. And now I kind of, I wish I can go back to feeling annoyed about stuff like that, because that means everything is back to normal again,
It's interesting after the last year, how much people are looking forward to the mundane parts of life, to the boring stuff that we got used to, but that we couldn't do for a year.
100%.
Yeah. So you've been in dance music for 20 years. And with that perspective, what's the biggest professional lesson that you've learned?
Professional, well, I learned that in dance music, there's a lot of rejection, and you have to have thick skin to keep going. But in the end, it will be worth it if you keep going. It's not an easy industry to be part of. There's a lot of competition. Everybody wants it, but if you just follow through and stick to it, then the reward is there. But it's not it's a bumpy road, that's for sure.
That's beautifully said. That's totally true. And last question: what excites you about the future of dance music?
Well, I'm very excited about everything going back to normal again. So that's one. But if you look at just the genres per se, I'm just excited that house music is thriving still after 20 years. There's definitely there's no slowing down. It's probably even picking up pace. There's a lot of people interested in it. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. For instance, in the US, if you look at it 10, 15 years ago, compare that to now, it's amazing how dance music kind of exploded in the US.
Yeah.
Let's say during the whole EDM boom, let's call it like that. It's very cool that, throughout the world, everywhere people enjoy this kind of music, and it's not slowing down. Even though when it originated, like end of the 80s, that they said, oh, it's just a short thing, will end soon. Acid house, blah blah, the devil music, blah blah.
Right.
So we're all right now. It's amazing that it's so powerful and keeps growing. So I'm just super excited for once everything is back to normal, that the world is at our feet for dance music.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting that in the US, everybody talked about the EDM bubble bursting. And I think that all-encompassing term for dance music, that may have gone away, but the bubble never burst. It was just like, hey, no, this is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because when I first started doing this 20 plus years ago, that's all I wanted, was to see this become like a global thing. And I looked at Europe and I looked at the UK and I was like, man, I'm so jealous that they get to listen to this stuff on the radio and they have big festivals, and it's just a beautiful thing to be a part of this. And
which is surprising, because it originated in the US.
Exactly. It's nice to see it come home, and and to be able to talk to people like you, and know that like now people want to come to the US to play music, as opposed to all the US DJs wanting to go over there.
Oh, so I said I have a tour coming up half August, and I'd be absolutely gutted if that's not happening. But I said I got my first shot now. I called the doctor and explained the situation. Listen, I want to go travel again, but I can't because my age group is not. There's no vaccines for people my age at the moment. But the doctor helped me out and says, "Come over because we have some left." So she did the solid one. So I'll be fully vaccinated in half August. The only thing that's in our way now is that travel ban between the US and Europe. But I hope that will be lifted soon. And I'm really surprised about the whole thing that they say you can come into the US if you go to Mexico, spend 15 days in Mexico, then you can cross the border, which I don't understand, because if I'm fully vaccinated, why can't I just cross the border? Why do I have to go to Mexico for 15 days? I don't get it.
I have no idea. The travel laws make absolutely no sense these days, especially if you're fully vaccinated. I feel like if you can prove that you're fully vaccinated, you should be able to go wherever you want. But I think things are probably going to change in the US. I was just reading that in the US, we're at 50% of all adults are fully vaccinated. So we're getting close to that like 70% like benchmark. So I feel like in the next couple of weeks, or maybe in the next month or so, things are going to change. I mean, even California, I live in California, and California was the most restrictive state. And we're opening up fully on June 15th, like with zero restrictions, full capacity at parties, movie theaters, everything will be fully open. So I think things are definitely going to change.
Well, I have to say hats off to Biden and everybody for the vaccination program they got going on, because that's impressive how quickly that's going.
They rolled. I'm very impressed. I was, even when it first started happening in February, people were fighting to get them. And now you can just walk into a drugstore and ask for one, and anybody over the age of 16 can get one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anybody over the age of 16 can just walk into any drugstore and say, I want to get vaccinated, and they'll make it happen.
It's amazing, man. Imagine we're 17 million people, and we worked on it since January, and I think we're like 8 million injections still. So it's like 4 or 5 million people. So it's crazy. It's stupid, but I'll be vaccinated half of July. So
absolutely. Well, if you do make it to the US, and I live in Oakland, which is outside of San Francisco. If you make it to San Francisco, let me know.
Go there.
Yeah.
Audio.
Oh, yes. Audio. That's one of my favorite venues in the city. I love that space. It's amazing. And I'm so happy that they're open again. So if you do make it here, let me know. I'd love to come see you.
Yeah, man. Let's do that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me today. This was really fun.
Sure, man.
Yeah. And we will be in touch, Ben. Thanks so much again.
Great, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Hopefully see you in audio then.
Yes, you will.
Okay, man. Well, all right. Thanks. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.